The first time Eli noticed her, it was raining, the kind of rain that soaks through shoes and settles into your bones. He was standing under a flickering bus stop light, counting the last dollars in his pocket, wondering how late he could be without losing another job. That moment, cold, tired, unnoticed, was his normal. Before we go any further, if stories about real love, real struggle, and real people speak to you, take a second to like this video, subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Eli was 27 and already felt old. He lived in a cramped basement apartment that smelled like damp concrete and burnt coffee. His mother called every Sunday, pretending not to worry about his unpaid bills. His friends had slowly stopped inviting him out, embarrassed by his constant, maybe next time. Money was always tight, tighter than his chest when he woke up at night thinking about rent. Emotionally, he was tired in a way sleep couldn't fix. Socially, he felt invisible. Romantically, he had given up, telling himself love was a luxury for people with stable lives. And yet, there she was, standing across the street, laughing into her phone, unaware that she had just stepped into the quiet center of his broken routine. Eli didn't talk to her that night. He watched the bus doors close between them, the reflection of her face sliding away in the wet glass. All the way home, his mind replayed the moment, arguing with itself. You should have said something. Then immediately, what would you even say? The next morning at work, his supervisor sighed loudly as Eli clocked in. You're late again. Eli nodded, swallowing his apology. He needed this job, even if it barely paid. During his break, he sat alone, scrolling his phone with greasy fingers, wondering why his life felt like one long pause. At home, the silence was heavy. He ate noodles straight from the pot, standing because the chair wobbled. His mother's voicemail blinked on his phone, but he didn't listen. Instead, he thought about that laugh, how easy it sounded, and how far away his own happiness felt. He told himself it didn't matter. People like her didn't end up with people like him. Still, that night, lying on his mattress on the floor, he imagined running into her again. The thought scared him more than being alone, because hope always hurt more when it left. A week later, he did see her again, this time at the small grocery store near his apartment. She was struggling with a basket overflowing with vegetables. Eli froze at the end of the aisle, heart pounding like he'd done something wrong. He almost turned away, but she dropped an apple. It rolled to his foot. He picked it up and handed it to her. You dropped this. She smiled. Thanks. Guess I'm too optimistic about what I can carry. They talked for maybe 2 minutes. Her name was Mara. She worked at a nearby clinic. She asked what he did. Eli hesitated. A little of everything, he said, which felt like a lie and a truth at the same time. Afterward, he replayed every word, every pause. He worried he sounded stupid. He worried she saw right through him. When he checked his bank account later that night and saw the balance blinking low, shame washed over him. How could he even think about someone else when he could barely take care of himself? He told himself not to go back to that store at the same time again. But he did. They started talking more. Small, accidental conversations that slowly felt less accidental. Outside the store. At the bus stop. Always brief, always safe. Eli never mentioned his bills or his fears. Mara never pushed. But pressure built quietly. His landlord slid a notice under the door. His mother finally asked, "Are you okay?" And he said yes too quickly. One night, a coworker joked, "Man, you're always broke." And everyone laughed. Eli laughed too, then sat in his car afterward, staring at the steering wheel until his eyes burned. When Mara asked if he wanted to get coffee, his first instinct was panic. Coffee cost money. Conversation cost confidence. He almost said no. Instead, he said, "Sure," and spent the next 2 days rehearsing what kind of person he'd pretend to be. At the cafe, he chose the cheapest thing and still felt guilty. When she talked about her day, he listened deeply, afraid that if he spoke too much, she'd hear the cracks. When the check came, his hands shook. That night, he told himself, he was a temporary part of her life. Temporary things didn't last, and that was safer to believe. As weeks passed, feelings grew heavier. Eli started skipping meals to save money for moments with Mara. He hated himself for it and did it anyway. Love, he realized, wasn't soft, it was sharp and demanding. One evening, She invited him to meet her friends. He said yes, then spent hours staring at his closet. Everything looked wrong. At the bar, he sat quietly while conversations bounced around him. Someone asked where he saw himself in 5 years. Eli smiled and shrugged, still figuring it out. The table went quiet for half a second too long. Later, Mara asked if he was okay. Yeah, he said again. Always yeah. Always fine. Inside, his thoughts were loud. You don't belong here. You're borrowing time. At home, the power shut off for an hour. Eli sat in the dark, phone in hand, wanting to text her, not knowing what to say. He wondered if love was supposed to feel like this, like holding your breath, hoping the air wouldn't run out. He cared about her deeply. That scared him more than anything else in his life. The fight came quietly, not shouting, worse. Silence and misunderstanding. Mara noticed he avoided talking about the future. She noticed the way he flinched at plans. One night she asked, "Do you even see this going anywhere?" Eli felt cornered. His chest tightened. "I don't know," he said, honest but incomplete. She nodded slowly. "I need more than that." After she left, he sat on the edge of his bed, head in his hands. He hated himself for not being enough, for not being ready, for wanting something he couldn't support. Days passed without messages. Work felt heavier. Food tasted like nothing. His mother called again. This time he answered. She listened as he stumbled through half-truths. "You don't have to be perfect," she said softly. "You just have to be honest." That night, Eli walked through the city, past couples and closed shops, feeling like life was happening just out of reach. He wondered if letting go would hurt less than holding on. Eventually, exhaustion replaced panic. Eli stopped fighting his thoughts and let them sit. He was tired of pretending, tired of surviving 1 week at a time. Sitting on a park bench before sunrise, he watched the sky slowly change color. There was no sudden inspiration, no dramatic promise. Just a quiet realization the way he was living couldn't continue. Not for love, not even for himself. The idea of change scared him. What if he tried and failed again? What if effort only made the disappointment sharper? He felt stuck between fear and necessity. He thought about Mara, not as someone to impress, but as someone who deserved honesty. He thought about his mother's voice. He thought about how empty his apartment felt. Nothing moved yet. No calls. No plans. Just awareness pressing down on him, heavy but clear. He didn't know what the next step was. He only knew that standing still was slowly crushing him. For the first time, he admitted to himself that something had to change, even if he had no idea how. The decision wasn't brave. It was practical. Eli made a list on the back of an old receipt. Expenses, debts, options. It looked ugly, but it was real. He called a former coworker about extra shifts. He updated his resume late at night, fighting the voice telling him it was pointless. He practiced saying the truth out loud. "I'm struggling, but I'm trying." Before he could lose his nerve, he texted Mara. "Can we talk? Honestly." His stomach twisted as he waited. When she agreed, relief and fear collided. They met at the same cafe. Eli didn't promise miracles. He didn't sell a future he didn't have. He told her where he was, how scared he was, and that he understood if it wasn't enough. Mara listened quietly. "I don't need perfect," she said. "I need real." Nothing was solved that day, but something shifted. Not success, direction. And that for now had to be enough. Life didn't suddenly get easier. Eli worked longer hours and slept less. Some days he felt progress. Other days felt like setbacks stacked on setbacks. There were nights he wanted to quit, to apologize for dreaming too big. But small wins appeared, an extra paycheck, a bill paid on time, a moment of pride. He and Mara moved slowly, carefully, learning each other without pretending. They argued sometimes. About stress, about time, about fear. But they stayed. That was new. Eli learned discipline the hard way, by failing and showing up again. He learned love wasn't rescue, it was partnership under pressure. Momentum built quietly, unevenly. No applause, just forward motion. And for the first time, his life felt like it belonged to him, even when it hurt. A year later, Eli's life wasn't perfect, but it was stable. He had steadier work, fewer unpaid bills, and a small apartment with sunlight. Mara sat at his table, drinking coffee, comfortable in the quiet. Love didn't save him, but it walked with him while he learned to save himself. He learned that honesty builds stronger bonds than confidence, that growth is slow and uncomfortable, that love doesn't require having everything, just the courage to stop hiding. If this story resonated with you, remember, real love grows in real conditions. Not perfection, progress. If you believe stories like this matter, subscribe, share your thoughts in the comments, and stay with us. Sometimes, the most powerful love stories are the ones that almost didn't happen.